Hello and welcome to another episode of the CIRS Group podcast. I'm Jacie,
And I'm Barbara.
and today is our 50th episode.
Woohoo! Yay! There's no
That's
sound
so many.
effects or anything, so that's awkward.
Oh, I can put one in. And
Yeah?
maybe it's just you saying woohoo yay on repeat.
It's not awkward at all. Yeah, we hit 50. That's a
That's a
thing.
lot.
That's a
I can barely
lot.
count that high.
Most podcasters certainly can't count that high. I mean, it's a big deal in podcasting land. Most what is it, like 90 something percent don't even make it to 10. So I feel proud of us.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, and I was telling you about a podcast I used to do, and then it was like we were disconnecting a little bit, and I was like, oh no, no, this was a different podcast that I used to do. Both of those podcasts I used to do only hit it to like 3 or 4 episodes, so I am definitely contributing to the problem.
Yeah, or contributing to our now greatness
Yeah, that
by
I like
comparison.
that framing.
Yeah. So, yeah, as a special 50th episode acknowledgement topic, I just thought it would be fun to reflect on how far CIRS has come since we found out about it almost exactly 2 years ago. And of course, the podcast is only about a year old, but yeah, since we were diagnosed, that moment was a very different looking environment for CIRS at the time, and I love how much it has grown, how much more mainstream it's gotten. So I just wanted to kind of reflect on that today.
Yeah, I think the starting point really is when we were first diagnosed with CIRS. There was very limited patient-facing information to the point where when someone first told me that I might have CIRS and I kind of looked into it, I was like, oh, absolutely not. This is like way too much medical information. They're trying to gaslight me. Now I know that it's just really well researched. But at the time, I was like, there's no like patient-facing information. This doesn't feel real. And so that's really where the CIRS group came from. Because one, we were like, thank goodness we were diagnosed together. Like, would never wish this upon you, but thank goodness we were diagnosed together because we had like built-in support through our friendship. But then also, too, with the CIRS group, we realized there was this need for patient-facing information, and hopefully we help provide that.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sorry, and you're welcome at the same time. Yeah, because if you do a search for CIRS content, now it's a little bit better, I think. There's more and more people are coming forward with their stories and what they're dealing with as patients or as health coaches. But at the time, it was all just the doctors, and the doctors were all researchy intellectual types, which of course, good. I'm glad that's what you want in a doctor. But even as they regurgitated the information, it wasn't always easy to comprehend. And again, with the CIRS brain, the brain fog, like, come on, people. So yeah, that's why we do what we do. I'm just kind of restating everything you just said, but it's really nice to see how many more people are joining in and talking about it, sharing their own stuff. I think that's been really important and awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely for me, that's been one of the highlights of, going through this and seeing how over time the awareness has become more. And we can't talk about the awareness of SIRS without talking about Judy Cho.
Yeah, so Judy Cho, all those doctors that we just talked about with all of their intellectual content, they actually recognized her at CIRSx last year for doing more for the awareness of CIRS in 1 year that they had all done in 10. I mean, it's true.
20
In 20. Oh,
in
okay.
20
Yes,
years.
in
Yeah.
20 years. That's right. So she's she had a big megaphone for the carnivore community, and turns out if you're crazy and desperate enough to try an all meat diet to feel better, you probably have CIRS. So it just so happens that the carnivore community really needed to hear about CIRS, and Judy delivered. And that's why we're here.
Yeah. And a really cool kind of downstream effect of this has been, because of Judy sharing about SIRS and creating all this awareness, now we're seeing really big platforms share about CIRS, and we can't talk about this without talking about the recent interview that Jordan Peterson did with Dr. Shoemaker.
Yes, and Dr. McMahon was on that too. Yeah,
Yes.
and they were that was a really great conversation because for anyone not familiar with Jordan Peterson, he is a very skeptical person. He will poke at something to really make sure it's real and it's true. And I think that was a totally appropriate approach, especially with two doctors like Shoemaker and McMahon who can stand up to that kind of scrutiny. They've done all of the published research on the topic, so they had an answer for everything that he brought out. So that was great, and it was lovely to see something relatively mainstream. Say what you will about Jordan Peterson and Daily Wire, but that is certainly more mainstream than CIRS has been before. So it's really cool to see it get acknowledged like that.
Yes, and it's going to be interesting to see how this awareness changes things in the future and changes the landscape of living with CIRS in the future. Like, I can see a world of like people healing from really catastrophic health declines like I had, right? Like I became immobile. I couldn't walk without a cane. I was blind in my right eye. So to like come back from the brink of that, like I can't imagine how many other people, if they can hear about this, right? Because I that's the thing for me is I was so lucky to learn about CIRS when I did. And I think about the people who have been suffering for decades and decades who don't even know about CIRS yet. And that's why it's so important. It's so um, just joyful to hear about the CIRS awareness spreading is because people are going to hear about this hope for healing they might never have thought they could have.
Yeah.
The other piece of, sorry,
No, go
I
ahead.
was going to say the other piece of that being, how are building regulations going to change in the future? How is healthcare going to change in the future? And is there going to be more opportunity for people experiencing CIRS to get help and get resources to help them recover? Are we going to be able to put more resources towards research that can, maybe discover new treatment modalities? Like it's just so exciting. I feel like we're on the leading edge of CIRS right now.
Yeah, and kind of to that end, something that I know we've ex personally experienced with our doctors, and I know members have experienced as well. It used to be a lot easier to get an appointment with a CIRS practitioner, and now it's a little bit on the rough side. It's not impossible by any stretch, but some doctors have a really long wait. We're talking months. Some doctors a little bit less, thankfully. But I hope that with this mainstream attention, more people will become aware. There's going to be more of a demand. We're going to have a bit of a crunch time where everyone's kind of suffering through the growth spurt. But I hope what that does is churn out more healthcare professionals that are aware of CIRS, that can screen for it. They can treat it to at least some degree, get people started before they can see their CIRS provider, something like that. I hope that we see just, again, more practitioners, more options, and more processes in place that are streamlined and uniform. So again, all of this is just more efficient. Hopefully that brings costs down for customers, clients, patients, whatever word you want to use. That will also just make all of this a little bit easier in the long run. So this might be it might be a little tough while we're all waiting to see our doctor, but hopefully that's a sign that this will get better in the future for everyone else.
Yeah, and with that, it'll be really exciting to go to CIRSx this year. We went last year, and my one, like, CIRSx, can you please get your stuff together? Because every year they pick just the worst location. Like in 2022, it was in Florida. And if you're new to this podcast, welcome. We don't like Florida here. 2023, they did it in Boulder, which had those historic floods back in 2013, and actually is the reason why one of the co-founders of CIRSx had CIRS. And then next year, they're doing it in Frisco, Texas, which is just humid. Like it's just humid there. So I'm holding out hope, holding out hope we get a good location this year, but it's just
Yeah.
hilarious to me about the locations that they are choosing. Why? Why CIRSx?
Come on, Dr. D, pick Vegas next time. Be really easy for me, but also it's pretty darn dry here. But we'll see. But yeah, CIRSx is great. Otherwise, it's really jam-packed with information. If you are a patient and you're interested in going, I think we encourage that with the caveat that you understand, again, bad location. So, don't go if you're in the throes of your illness. Be a little bit further along in treatment, ideally. And yeah, just it's a great time to get the information, the latest information from all of the doctors and researchers that are at the forefront of this whole movement. So, yeah, very much looking forward to going again this year.
Yeah, I'll add too, if you're a patient and you're like new to the protocol or you're really reactive or like your attention span is shorter, if you still have that thing where it feels like you're thinking through mud, CIRSx would be hard. Like us as, relatively well-functioning people, we're exhausted at the end of it. And we did see some attendees kind of falling off as the days went on because the schedule is kind of brutal. They do a lot of lectures, which is great because it's so information packed. But if you are, if you were questioning whether or not you can handle it, I would say wait for the online replays.
Yeah.
You can also I think last year they had live virtual lectures. So that's where I would go if I were at a place in my treatment where that felt, more accessible to me. But definitely if you're interested in going to CIRSx, if you want to work with CIRS communities, it is such an amazing place to go because, everyone there is kind of working towards the same common goal, which is a really unique experience to be a part of. And also you get to meet us.
Yeah, that's the best part. Um, yeah, and the other thing is if you are curious about CIRSx, you don't know what the heck we're talking about, we did a lot of recap episodes of this podcast from last year's CIRSx. And chances are we'll be doing that again this year. So if you really can't make it, you can't afford it because it's not the cheapest conference in the world to attend, we will definitely be bringing whatever good golden nuggets of information to you guys that we learned from there. That's kind of the point of us going. So yeah, look forward to that as well.
And then we can't talk about, this time last year to this time now without talking about the CIRS group itself. So the CIRS group is our online community of people who are healing from CIRS, and it's been incredible to have that community. And like I said, when we were first talking about being diagnosed with CIRS, Barbara and I were so grateful to have each other's support through that process of being diagnosed and, being able to share information and bounce ideas off of each other. I can't imagine going through CIRS alone, especially that, opening stage where you're just learning about it and everything feels overwhelming and you don't know what your first step should be. Having a community can make the difference for you in terms of, the trajectory of your treatment. And not to just plug the CIRS group, there's plenty of, CIRS communities out there. If you're interested in joining one, I highly recommend if you feel like that community energy is going to be good for you in your treatment. But really, we just wanted to create a space where other people could have that same experience we did of having support through, especially those initial stages. But I will say one of my favorite parts of having the CIRS group and having it for so long now is like seeing the night and day difference between some of our members who, a year ago or even months ago would post like, I'm struggling right now, or they'd be on a group call and you would just see that they look like a ghost of themselves. And now, months or maybe a year later, to see them just look different, to have different energy to them, to have their posts be so celebratory is my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the best part for sure. And it's cool because then those people can serve as inspirations and motivators to the people that are joining that are new, haven't even started treatment yet, might still be a little skeptical because I think we all were until the medication started to finally work. So it's just good. It's a good mix now of oldies and newbies, all helping each other and supporting each other. We started out with, I think, probably 10 founding members when we first opened, which was fantastic. We just wanted to break even, as far as like platform fees and overhead. That's all we wanted at the time. And now we have like 180-ish members and counting. So yeah, it's a really happening group, lots of posts every day. It's even hard to keep up at this point, but we have just so many members that are helping each other out that it's just so cool to see. So yeah, wonderful plug to pat ourselves on the back for a pretty decent group, I'd say. And of course, if you are interested in joining, you just go to the cirsgroup.com and it's all right there for you.
We'll see you there.